do autism intervention for foster and adoptive youth. I'm a community activist and a photographer. I like to joke that I somehow got the vaccination and missed the disease to please during like my female socialization. I use quotes because I don't feel like it happened. I was actually socialized really gender neutral by the people that raised me. I was lucky and privileged enough to be raised by, you know, a village of my mom's queer friends, trans women, not many trans men actually, but gay men of color, and just you know, people with varying you know, experiences in the world that aren't necessarily the mainstream experiences. So basically, I was raised by alternative freaks and geeks. This was before I even considered medically transitioning, because I wanted to socially transition, and I thought I'll be fine. But you know, that doesn't work that way. You know, people don't take you seriously until you have, you know, a disorder or something. And so no one was taking me seriously when I was transitioning without hormones. I gave it 8 months. I tried for 8 months to do it. And you know, the first thing I did was I walked myself into a hair salon. I had only had hair, long, beautiful hair for, I was 22 when that happened. For 22 years I had had hair. And I felt like, I guess this is what it takes. And you know, that was a sacrifice that I thought was going to, you know, somehow make the world see me better. And what was fucked up was it did. That, like, you know, the same week, you know, people were like, oh, so you're serious about this? I was like, what do you mean? I've been serious about this for the past 8 months. Like, kind of similar trope I use. I say you go from being prey to predator. You know, in our society, we really love to commodify, exoticize, and fetishize the black female form, the brown female form. And as someone who is mixed race, both black and brown, I've kind of seen, you know, the ways that manifests itself in negative ways, the way it affects female body image, all of these kind of things. But I remember one night coming home, just in my preferred way of dress, but coming back to my neighborhood, I realized that it was no longer okay for me to do that. It was kind of cute and funny, you know, maybe I get called a dyke or something when I was being read as a female, but once I was being read as a male, it was like, you're fag, or like, what are you, queer, all of this. And I was like, there was, you know, a hostile tone to it, rather than like you're a dyke, is your girlfriend hot, can I watch you make out? And so I took to started to bring changes of clothes wherever I went. I called it, you know, my white people outfit and my black people outfit, and you know, they served me pretty well. And it's only recently that I've begun to wean myself out of that habit, but I haven't been dressing the way I'd prefer to, because it doesn't feel safe to anymore. And I feel like the more and more I kind of lose all traces of what could have been perceived as female, the more and more it seems necessary to shed some of the things that I don't necessarily want to shed, but I have to in order to, you know, make sure I get home that night. And so it's been like a real interesting social experiment to see how people's reactions have changed to me. So I started to think about all the intersections of, you know, how we're kind of tiered up. It's, you know, a class and a race thing, you know, because you can't have one without the other. Like, those are, like, people like to say it's all race or it's all class, or like, if you're a poor white trans man, like, somehow in their brain, like, a trans woman of color who can afford everything she needs, she's better off than you. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. It's very intersectional. And if you kind of fail to acknowledge that part of the equation, you fail to acknowledge the experiences of the people who are on the short end of that stick.